Hello. So I'm planting my last bucket of potatoes in 5-gallon buckets, and it literally just realized that I've got various stages of growth, so this would be a good time to film a little tutorial on potatoes in 5-gallon buckets. So a lot of the potatoes I grew were leftovers from last year that I grew, but these here are potatoes that I just bought. Seed potatoes, certified seed potatoes. So the first thing I do when I get the bag, the first thing I do is cut them into the size I want. I cut them, put them in a cardboard box, and just leave them in there for 3 or 4 days. And what that does is scabs this opening. I mean, when it's first cut, this is wet and juicy, but it's scabbed over now. And then after that, I want to make sure I've got eyes before I plant them, and this process is called chitting, C-H-I-T-T-I-N-G. Anyway, basically, you just subject these to light and they start growing. A lot of people will put them on a windowsill. I've seen people put them in egg cartons, open egg carton in a windowsill. I basically just take a cookie sheet, put a towel over it, and just set them on cut side down and stick them under my grow light, because right now I've got a lot of room in my grow lights. I've got a couple of pepper and tomato plants going, but I had room, so I just stuck them on there. Anyway, I want to make sure I see the growth. I mean, that almost guarantees that thing's going to sprout. So after that, I don't know if y'all follow Hollis and Nancy's Homestead, but I pretty much follow their formula. I take a 5-gallon bucket, a lot of holes in the bottom. I fill it up roughly 4 inches deep with soil, and I wet it down to make sure it's wetted through. This last batch of potting soil I bought, I'm having a hard time getting it saturated, so I'm actually doing it in layers. Anyway, 3 to 4 inches of soil on the bottom, and 2 potatoes per 5-gallon pot. Now, when I was first doing it this year, and this is the first year I've pretty much grown in containers because of this new greenhouse. Anyway, I was first doing 1 potato per plant, and then I watched Hollis's video and he showed 2. So I moved up to 2, which is going to give me a bigger harvest. Well, after that, you just fill it with 6 inches of soil and wet it down again, make sure everything's saturated, but also make sure it's draining. And that's pretty much it. And you'll basically end up with this. And then what'll happen after that is they'll start breaking out of the surface. And you'll start seeing, kind of see right here, it broke the surface. Had a little camera problem here. You see where it broke the surface there, but there's other spots, like, I just want to show it. Right there, it's starting to crack the surface. Anyway, and then, so tomorrow I'll probably see the leaves, which will be like that. So you pretty much just let that go. There's another one cracking the surface. Anyway, you leave it be at that point, and then they start growing a little bit bigger, which, I mean, there's an example a little bit bigger, and then even a little bit more bigger. And then basically at this point, which is not too many days later, you start hilling them. Hilling them, you know, if you're in garden soil, hilling is taking dirt and just covering it up the side, which you can't do in a bucket. So you're basically just adding more soil to it. And I'm basically using whatever I've got. This is an example of a muck bucket, and this one, when you're growing in muck buckets, you're pretty much doing 5 potatoes in that muck bucket. Anyway, so a lot of these have bark in them, and basically I've got this worm. This was a worm bed for me. Anyway, I needed some real fine potting soil, so I was taking the potting soil and sifting it through that, and I was actually surprised at the amount of bark that was in it. Anyway, I've got to do something with it, so I'm using it to fill in. So you can use potting soil, you can use bark, you can use hay or straw. But as it's growing, just keep covering it until you're about 1 inch to 2 inches below the top, and then just stop there and maintain it. But I just thought this was a cool thing, from planting to nothing to breaking out to little baby plants. to bigger plants. I just thought that was pretty cool and be worthwhile showing it to you. Anyway, and I'm growing from my swimming pool converted to a greenhouse. A lot of citrus trees down there. Anyway, this is a project. Today's February 19th, 2023. But I think this past weekend, we finally got the bottom floor put in for the citrus trees down there. But it's go time for us down here. So far, since I've started on the greenhouse, the lowest temperature I got at night was 38 degrees in the greenhouse when it was like something like 27 degrees outside. Anyway, just want to show you this little potato thing, and I'll probably keep you updated on them. But you know, if I get 5 pounds of potatoes per bucket, I mean, I've got 100 pounds of potatoes sitting here, which is 10 bags. Pretty cool. All right, you have a great day.